wasn't fair. I was mid-cough. Are we going? Do I need to clap? All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Clayton.
Speak to the mic. My name's James.
I feel like I was speaking to the mic.
Don't worry about the people. They'll be all right.
As always, hello to the people on YouTube. I like doing
Smash a like, hit the sub button. There you go. Cheers.
How are we?
I'm all right, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, all good. It's nice to be back in the studio for the main pod. This is my debut this season on the main pod.
Is it?
Yeah, got the call up.
We kept you in hiding.
Yeah, we've done the Clayton and James show, done a couple of the People's Poll, but I think main pod, this is my first one this season.
Talking of hiding, shout out to our Aston Villa followers today. Hope you're well. How was your weekend? I understand your Wildcards was quite good and largely dominated by one person.
Do you know what? Let's answer the first bit of the question. Weekend was shit because my team, I'm an Arsenal fan for people that don't know, my team started off the weekend 12:30. So, my mood was not great. But then I went to a best friend's engagement party in the evening and that cheered me up.
God, that's worse.
And I actually checked my FPL team at the end of the weekend. And I obviously was on Wildcard. I'm happy with my team. I'm happy with how it's going. I've had a few comments from people like yourself, which we'll talk about later. The patrons were getting on to me on Saturday, just around deadline. But I'm happy with how it's gone, to be fair, my wild card. It's not amazing, but it's not awful. And I really like my team, how it's set up.
Come on in, read out what you went with.
Okay, so I went for my sins with a double West Ham goalkeeper pairing of Areola and Fabianski. The defensive three that I started were Aït-Nouri, Anderson, and Pedro Porro. Went captain Mo Salah, got Bumo to play tonight. Palmer, Saka, Cunha, Solanke, Raul Jimenez, and then on the bench I've got Garnacho, Dalot, and Colwell. I like it.
All right, cool. Money in the bank?
Money in the bank, I think, is 0.4, so not much. But bus team, it looks good for this week. I'm intending to roll, get into Gameweek 12 and try and get some Arsenal.
So you got a few more to go tonight, so that will probably get better. You got a couple of hundred rank rise, I think 100,000, I should say, rather than just a couple of hundred. Your rank's not that good, Clates. But I guess largely Salah captain, Solanke. That's the week, right?
Essentially, yeah. I've got a Cunha 6-pointer in there.
Yeah.
I think the team looks good. Like the West Ham double goalkeepers obviously isn't ideal, but it was just I don't like the look of any of the keepers, to be honest. And I thought in that case it's highly unlikely I'm gonna need more than just Jared Bowen from West Ham. So I thought let me just go and keep it cheap. So 47 not out at the minute with Anderson, Bumo, and Raul Jimenez to go tonight.
That's certainly going to be a green arrow for you tonight on top of what you already are with the amount of players you've got there. Whereas he's likely to get a little bit worse for me. Pretty much a disaster, really. I know there's been people in a worse position this week, but saved by Dom Solanke, essentially. So 36 points for myself, of which Dom Solanke equates to 16 points of it. Nothing else. That's it.
Wow, that was it.
My only returns is from Dom, the captain Cole Palmer, Raya, Porro, Trent, Aït-Nouri, Saka, Garnacho, Watkins, Jackson, nothing. Got Bumo to go tonight, and I realise as kind of proven by your team, there's others with more to go round, so likely to get worse. I've dropped to 22k, which I guess if you'd have offered me 3 weeks ago that you'd probably drop to about 30k, I'd have been like, yep, sign me up with the fixtures Haaland had over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, he hasn't hurt me again this weekend. Mo Salah has. But what's really hurt me this week is that the players I've got ain't returned. Also benched Morgan Rogers. I won't be the only one in that category. That was an inevitability, benching a player against my team. It is what it is. I don't regret that particular decision. I don't regret the decision to captain Palmer because I didn't have great choices this week. And that's proven by the fact that everybody else blanked bar Solanke, right? So, difficult week. It's not damaged too badly because I think that top 10k average, I think, is around about 43. So that'll depend on what Bumo does tonight. It's obviously going to have a really big impact on that. So it's not been too damaging, but yeah, difficult week. And I think it was always likely to be, I wasn't comfortable looking at Palmer captain. The one move that I was really considering was obviously the double move to go Cunha and Salah.
Yeah.
Had I done it, I bring Salah in, I captain him, Cunha.
What made you not go through with that
as well? I wanted cover defensively. I bought Aït-Nouri on Monday, didn't I? Give me cover, thinking at that point that Gabriel would probably be out, actually. I'm just looking at it from a lens of going, well, if he's gone off injured against Liverpool, it's probably not minor. if I could have that time back, yeah, I wouldn't have done it. But it's a hindsight call. The problem with Mo is, like, when he's returning at the moment, you know, if you want to get his numbers up, Clayton, because you've got him in your team, every time he scores, fucking hitting bonus points, man. Like, every time. Whereas, you know, in the past, it used to feel like, yeah, he'd have to kill someone to get in the bonuses, how he used to feel years ago. Because he used to get punished for, like, losing the ball and stuff like that, or uncompleted dribbles. Now, he's obviously got such an involvement at the top end. It's so laced towards the attacking players getting the bonus.
Yeah, you're right. Just looking there, the goals against
I
Brighton.
think every
Arsenal,
time he's
Chelsea.
scored, he's got at least 2 bonus.
Yep, that's correct from what I'm looking at in front of me.
And that's starting to burn, I think.
Any easy way for you to get to him? Or
I do similar now. I can't go Cunha to Salah. I'll be 0.1 short now.
Okay.
I could go Salah and Larson. And also if I go Salah, Larson, it sets up quite easily to go Solanke to Isak in 12, which is the move that I really want to make. It does mean Porro stays there, but then, okay, I'll play Aït-Nouri away to Fulham instead, and maybe Porro stays. Or I take a hit, but I can't see the worthwhile in taking that hit for the move defensively. I'm also aware I've obviously got 2 players that are on 4 yellow cards, of which Aït-Nouri is 1. And Nicholas Jackson now is another. There's so many different moves I could end up making this week, I think. I've got 2 free transfers. I could end up doing 3. I could end up doing none, I think. Yeah. I really considered going Salah and Larson last night because they both went up last night. And I thought, but I was just like...
European week, it's not worth it, is it?
Yeah, exactly that. So, yeah, it would have been nice to nick the money on it. Yeah, Salah is hurting. And I can kill the hurt here by going in. But I don't like the fact, when I look at it on paper, I go Salah and Larson rather than like Watkins and Saka.
Who would you captain this week if you didn't make that move?
I'm Dom.
Really, yeah?
Yeah. I was quite clear on that last week that almost from a fantasy perspective, almost thinking, yeah, do you know what, blank. I'm glad he hasn't, obviously. But then I'll be like the only person around captain him. Now it's like, oh, he's back at centre. He's always been at centre forward, kids. Oh, yeah, get him in and captain him this week. And obviously, with Sonny going off, yes, I think a few people probably planning to buy Sonny this week in captain. With him only doing the 55 minutes.
Yeah, Solanke's back on the menu for a lot of people.
I can't tell you definitively who I'm going to captain because there's a chance now that Dom plays 90 minutes in Turkey on Thursday. And that's off-putting.
Yeah, again, anything could happen in that game, even injury-wise.
Well, we picked up more issues yesterday. Richarlison again, hamstring. Romero now problems. So we picked up a few issues yesterday. But yeah, as it stands, like if the game week was starting today, I'd be captain Dom Solanke without any doubt.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, the reason I went for him was I know there was a lot of stats doing the rounds on like his XG in the last 3 league games, and I can't confess to have sat there and watched 90 minutes of Tottenham, but I just thought in an attacking system like that kind of statistics he was putting up wasn't going to continue. And I don't know if anything changed in the game yesterday against Aston Villa. I'm sure you'll tell me about that later on. But yeah, I just think at his price point with those 2 fixtures, obviously one just gone now against Villa, but then Ipswich, I just thought it's a nice option. So I'm sure I got a little bit lucky, but yeah.
Do you want the full list of players who've got a higher XG now in the league than Dominic Solanke?
I mean, the way you said that, I'm going to guess it's a handful, if that.
It's loads. Ready? Get your pen and paper out. Haaland, Jackson, Salah.
Is that it? Wow. I mean...
So with Dom now, since the Brentford game, so from game week 5, he's played 6 games, right? And in those 6 games, he's had 3 games with a really big individual XG, and he's had 3 games with nothing.
Okay.
And now, if it's levelling, but do you know what that also means actually going forward? Is it does actually make him a captaincy option.
Yeah, because he's got that. Well, why?
Well, because there's the chance for stuff like yesterday. So I can tell you now, for anyone who is suddenly thinking, oh yeah, I want to captain Solanke this weekend, it's Ipswich, yeah, welcome to the party. He's probably going to be similar again. He's probably going to have a really high proportion of chances and good chances or nothing.
Yeah.
I can't tell you which way around that'll go.
Yeah, it's worth a gamble at that price, though.
I think I'd captain him even if I bought Salah in, but it is dependent on Tottenham Thursday. Also, I don't like what would have been the alternative I'd have been considering was Garnacho.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that on Friday, actually.
So I'm not keen on that. I mean, he played the first 25 minutes or so on the right. Don't like that. He did go back to the left, and he's better out there. But I wouldn't want to captain him if he played on the right.
No,
and he might. So yeah, as long as Dom comes through Thursday, and as long as Tottenham's problems don't look too bad going into that fixture, yeah, it's just attacking the fixture. I captain Dom, and I think even if I did make the Mo move, I think I'd probably still captain Dom.
Really?
I think so.
Salah? Okay. Fair. I mean, I own both, and I've got it on Salah.
I genuinely think Dom might be the best captaincy this week. Now, it would have been Sonny, but...
What makes you say that you think he could be a better option than Salah this week?
So we've scored 4 goals 3 times at home. We've also got another 3. The only game we didn't score in was against yourselves. Ipswich have conceded 4 in their last 2 away games as well, I think.
I'm not sure. I'd have to check that, to be honest.
It's there on the table to think Tottenham could win something like 4-1 on Sunday.
Fair play.
That's enough.
Play it your way.
That's
Respect
enough.
it.
Whereas Villa, obviously, have taken the beating off us yesterday, are going to be probably a bit of a wounded animal going to Liverpool Saturday night. Don't let that happen again. Now, that's easier said than done, admittedly. But there must be lessons that Villa have learned from that second half yesterday.
Fair play. Should we go through the games?
Yes, sister.
First one is, of course, Newcastle 1, Arsenal 0, the Saturday 12:30.
Over to you, I think, mate.
Okay. I don't know where to begin with this. Lineup comes out, and I'm, obviously, as an Arsenal fan, feeling fairly chill because that lineup was the same one that started against Liverpool, and I thought that first half against Liverpool...
Saliba, obviously.
Sorry.
So it's even stronger.
Yeah, of course. It was just Saliba in for White. Until Gabriel went off against Liverpool, I thought Arsenal were exceptional. So I was feeling confident when the lineup came out. Game started, and I thought Arsenal looked pretty good, to be fair. Was getting into the right areas without generating the clear chances, but that for me was encouraging because I think that's something that Arsenal do tend to struggle with against kind of mid-blocks, is getting into the right areas consistently. And then I can't put my finger on what the momentum shifter was, but it just turned into a real tough period just before the goal for Newcastle. There was like a few minutes where Arsenal just kind of lost their way a bit, and then the goal was just absolutely outstanding. Like the pass out to Gordon, the cross, and the movement from Isak to kind of get himself in between the 2 defenders and the header. It was like, I mean, I do think from an Arsenal perspective, the defenders, the 2 centre-backs could have been a bit closer together.
So hypercritical, man.
Exactly.
It's a magnificent goal.
It's so hypercritical. Like, I do think there's some goals where you just have to hold your hands up and say fair play. But then that was a concern. Like, that goal was in the 12th minute, and everything that Arsenal looked like they were encouraging in the start just kind of faded away, and then the game just seemed to get away from them. It ended up being a little bit stop-start. There were quite a lot of disruptions in terms of fouling and stuff, but once Newcastle got that goal ahead and settled into that mid-block, Arsenal couldn't play through them. Like, out of possession, they were absolutely outstanding, Newcastle, and you know me, I'm very high on Mikel Arteta. I think he reacted so slowly to this game. I thought the game was screaming out for a change at half-time. And like there was a big change just before half-time. I'd say 3-5 minutes before it, where Partey was obviously playing right back, but he ended up in possession centrally a bit more consistently those few minutes before. And Arsenal played through Newcastle's thirds like with ease. And that for me was the big... get Partey central, because that's something that we're struggling with. Marino wasn't really getting on the ball enough. The ball progression was really lacking. And I was speechless that nothing was changed at half-time. I need to check when we actually made some changes. So yeah, on the 60th minute, Zinchenko and Nwaneri then came on for Marino and Martinelli. I was surprised Martinelli went off. I thought Trossard was absolutely shocking. He was having a disaster class in the game. Ineffective and, in possession, just poor. Havertz has been quiet in the last couple of games, to be fair. So we're playing this 4-4-2, 4-2-4, however you want to describe it. But in possession, Havertz will quite often go into that similar area that Odegaard does to facilitate. And I just think Arsenal at their best, Havertz is up top in that kind of central area. So yeah, from an Arsenal perspective, not great. There's a general concern with and without Odegaard, to be fair, where against mid-blocks, Arsenal look a little bit void of ideas on how to play centrally when those areas are blocked off. But from a Newcastle perspective, like getting that first goal to go ahead, outstanding goal, and then out of possession, they completely locked it off. Livramento had Martinelli's number in that game. The duels, the battles in midfield, like Mikel Merino was signed, I think the stat was like he'd won the most duels in midfield in Europe. Like the player I'm seeing at the minute, I'm like, I kind of want to fact check that. Newcastle completely outdid Arsenal, and it was a deserved win in the end. Did you watch the full game?
Yeah. The Odegaard absence is really showing now, and it's interesting. You'd said at the time when he got injured that you didn't think he'd be as big a miss as perhaps many of us thought it would be the case in the immediate games coming up, which were Tottenham, Man City. We then actually said that, ironically, probably Leicester, Southampton. Not that you wouldn't win the games, but you might miss him a little bit. And I think for the first hour against Southampton, that actually particularly proved to be the case. Now in some of the more recent games, that's shown up more. I know obviously went down to 10 men at Bournemouth, but the opening half hour there, and then pretty much all of this game. And one of the things we certainly said after the Leicester-Southampton game was how much Saka had stepped up from the creativity aspect. And I think Newcastle very much realised that. Shut Saka off. And that's why they changed their system. So I had an inkling that Gordon would play on the right, partly because of that, but I thought Harvey Barnes would play. But what they did is they went back to what worked for them so well in the year they finished top four, which was Joel Linton and Willock playing together in the left-hand channel. And to be honest, it wasn't even clear a lot of the time which one was ahead of the other. They swapped so much. But what they absolutely did as well was there was always going to be one of them to help Lewis Hall up against Saka. And Newcastle overloaded that. And there was a little bit more trust in, say, Livramento. I think it's becoming actually a really good 1v1 defender. Like, he really dealt really well with Gabriel
To do that
Martinelli.
after the type of injury he had as well was so impressive.
I think there's clear weaknesses at centre-back for Newcastle. But then, ironically, it shows up less like this because they're not allowing any space behind. If there's space behind, I think they're in danger in a lot of games. Didn't allow it at the weekend. It felt like it, and it's quite a hindsight thing, it felt like a game for Jesus afterwards. Just those little bits in and around the box and stuff. It's just a bit more kind of lively and
that's
stuff.
That's the change I would have made at half-time. Trossard for Jesus, to be fair.
But I do think that's a hindsight call. But I think Eddie Howe got his tactics spot on. And do you know what? Quite often in some of these bigger games for Newcastle, he really does reflect on the victory against Tottenham in April. I spoke a lot about that at the time in terms of his tactical setup. And both were real kind of defensive first thinking setups. Despite the fact Newcastle won 4-0 against my team in April, they did it out of brilliance defensively in terms of their off-the-ball structure. This felt like an overcompensation to say, do you know what, Saka ain't having it today, and we'll trust in the duels elsewhere, partly because of what you said. And I know a lot of people obviously won't like it, but actually you are better when Thomas Partey plays centre midfield, mate.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, I think so. And like Arsenal did have a couple. I think this is the thing, when I always get concerned when, as a fan, I'm focusing on moments. So, like, Rice had that moment at the end. Like, there was the Saka cross that didn't lead to anything, but I think with better movement in the central area, like, could Havertz have made a near-post run. But why I get concerned there is that, to me, is showing that we're not creating enough high-quality chances if we're focusing on those moments. And, yeah, I think, like I said, Partey, the few minutes he went a bit more central before half-time, I just think, like, this is a conversation for another day, maybe a Tot and Arse one, but like the midfield recruitment over the last 18 months, I think, has caused...
You pulled Declan Rice, Clayton.
I know, I'm not saying that was a mistake at all. Just, I think it's put a few square pegs around whole situations going on. Like, Declan Rice, when he plays as the holding midfielder, is great at kind of all the off-the-ball stuff, the defensive stuff, but then we lose that element of ball progression that Partey brings when he's central. When Partey goes central, Rice has to go left 8, and I think there's only certain game states that suit him there. Like there was, I think...
Rice is better in that left channel.
Yeah,
I've seen him do that right one a few times for England now. Not that he's been bad, he's just more comfortable in that left channel.
Oh yeah, I think he's better on the left than the right. I'm talking about whether he's better as a 6 or an 8. And that's where the kind of square pegs, round holes things come, because I'm not sure the balance is right there in midfield at the minute, to be honest. But the one thing I'm confident in is when Partey plays central, ball progression is so much better, but then you kind of lose the defensive side. So, yeah, it's a tricky one. Odegaard, like you say, we are missing big time at the minute. Tough game next week against Chelsea, but much needed win for Newcastle. Yeah,
look, it's not a disaster to lose at Newcastle, mate. Might feel like it today, but it's not. You lost there last year and came very close, right? So that can happen. I'm pleased from the Tottenham perspective that you're not in a position that I very much feared that you would come out of Stamford Bridge and be top of the league and I'd be like, oh, crap. Because you have had harder fixtures than everybody else. Clearly, mate.
So, yeah.
Once you get this Chelsea game out the way, you've got City away, Tottenham away, Newcastle away, Chelsea away, all out the way, and you've also played Liverpool and Villa away as well.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I know people were talking about, like, the title's done, this and that. Don't get me wrong. Like, but even before the Bournemouth Man City game.
If you lose on Sunday, I'll be in the bookies Monday morning putting money on you.
Okay. Fair play. Yeah, I just think...
Please gamble responsibly.
Yeah, I think...
That's possibly not responsible.
It's not like... I don't like it when people are like, oh, there's a long way to go, like, which there is. It's more just kind of adding the context in terms of who Arsenal have played and stuff. But I just think there's an element of you have to keep the gap a certain level to be able to give yourself the buffer room to go on that run. Like, I think when Arsenal have everyone fit, they're capable of replicating a run like they did from January 24. But if the gap to Man City and Liverpool is too big, then it doesn't really matter, right? So
come back to that line. Just a few things on fantasy, obviously. There'll be a few people getting a bit frustrated with a few Arsenal assets. I am looking at Raya and Gabriel and knowing they can find me money and keep the other one. But I'm also aware it's one more game and then Arsenal's fixture list looks great for 5 months, pretty much. Bar the odd individual fixture, that's when the run really begins. It's worth saying that's probably what Saka's first complete blank. If you bear in mind, he actually got a bonus point in the game against Leicester where he should have got something. This is the first 2-pointer of the season. And right at the end of the game, despite how well Newcastle nullified him specifically, he's put one on a plate for Declan Rice that he should score.
Should have scored that, yep.
So I'm aware of that. The thing that bothers me with Saka is, and it was kind of highlighted by looking at the Solanke data last night, he is a big drop-off in terms of XG to other players. You are relying on his creativity to make up the difference of that. Now, that creativity means that he can haul in any game, right? Comfortably get a goal and assist. But that creativity might take a bit of a dip once Odegaard is back. Yeah.
But then would the XG potentially go up?
Possibly. Yeah, absolutely. There's a few Newcastle players under consideration. From a fantasy perspective, I'm disappointed that Isak scored.
Why? You want him in, don't you?
No, I just know. It's just, he scored against Arsenal. It's like, he's back on radar. He scored at Chelsea, scored against Arsenal. Yeah, I know what this player's capable of, and I intend to get him for the West Ham game in Gameweek 12. It's not impossible I even get him in this week.
Okay.
Because I need to kind of find money. But one thing I'd considered is I could just go Watkins to Isak now, which doesn't feel ideal with Newcastle playing Nottingham Forest. I mean, it's a tough game and Forest are very good defensively. But it does then have him in place where I know if he did score again this weekend, okay, there's going to be a surge in the international break. And particularly if Nicholas Jackson did get booked this weekend, which, could Jackson get booked against Arsenal? Yeah, probably. I think a lot of people were looking to buy Jackson. That will deviate towards Isak.
Yeah.
Instead, I think, in game week 12. The flip of that is like, well, if Jackson gets suspended, I'll go Jackson to Isak. And all of this involves keeping Solanke, obviously. Now, the one thing I would say about keeping Solanke is not, massive impact to yesterday. No, I would bench him in 12.
That's what I'm planning on doing at the minute.
Because I've got Rodgers at home to Palace.
Sure.
So it wouldn't be the worst case scenario for him to sit there, but one way or another, I do want to get Isak in 12. I know that if Watkins and Jackson are okay for 12, it ain't going to be either of them getting binned. It would still definitely be Solanke. Therefore, to do that, I need to find some other money. One of the ways I might do it is by looking at Lewis Hall, I think, particularly.
Oh, the patrons are going to be happy to hear that one. He's back on the menu.
Well, realistically, he was only off the menu because Fabian Schär got sent off against Southampton, which killed game week 1 for many people, particularly Isak captainers, right? And he ended that day with a 5-pointer, but then he came out the team. He now has had 2 outstanding defensive displays against, probably, with respect to Liverpool fans at the moment, still the top 2 from last season. Against City and Arsenal, he's been brilliant at left back. I cannot now foresee why that would change.
No, me either. 4.3 now as well.
It's cheap, isn't it? And actually, I know they've not impressed that much this year, but defensively, like decent, and you'd be comfortable to play him in almost any home game.
Yeah, in the home one, 100%. Yeah,
particularly away from home, bit more of a problem. But 4.3 obviously would go in as a potential rotation option. So I'm really looking at him. I don't think I'm the only one.
No,
I think others are.
I saw a lot on Slack talking about that as well.
But I'm looking at something like that might open up the money. They've got good run of fixtures up to Christmas, and I'm aware of him now. That would be the way I'd want to go defensively. Pretty clear on that. It would be Isak and Hall rather than anything else.
Yep.
I don't think anyone would be investing in Arsenal new this week.
No, not this week.
Segue for you, though. You won't need as many points as you would have needed last year to win this league.
I agree with that. I said the same in a group chat, yeah. And, that goes on to Bournemouth 2, Man City 1. I don't think I heard anyone at all calling this result.
Okay, I might have been saying this for a few weeks, yeah.
Can I say so have I as well, just to throw myself in there?
You know what? You know why you did it, don't you?
Because you said it.
Because you listen to me a lot. Yeah, I just think that I spoke about it after City beat Fulham. Vulnerabilities, right? Fulham, the XG they posted at City that day. Yeah, not right. You cannot underestimate how big of a miss Rodri is. And there's two reasons. There's two things that really come to mind in terms of why I particularly thought Bournemouth. I've watched all of Bournemouth's home games this year.
Okay.
And they start on fire.
They're intense. Yep.
And they've played good sides in that. Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal. They start really, really quickly. City start football matches lethargic. They gave my team a 2-goal start last midweek in the Carabao Cup, admittedly an understrength side. So you got one team that starts really aggressively and one team that seems to take 15, 20 minutes to get into a football match. Then once they've got control, they're okay. But the vulnerabilities in City are so clear to see for me.
It's that transition area, isn't it? Like I've said it for a few weeks as well. Just it feels like any team right now can just play through them centrally.
And they're missing key personnel.
Yeah, of course.
There's not really much point in mentioning Rodri from here. Did you see Guardiola's comments after the Tottenham game?
I don't think so.
About he would remember the people that were available for him.
No, I didn't see that.
And then suddenly everyone was back on the bench at the weekend, even though they were like all ruled out till after the international break.
Yeah.
And Kyle Walker played, by the way.
Yeah, and Lewis was benched after he said he was the only person that couldn't.
Rico Lewis is the only person that I can't give a rest to, and sure enough, there it is.
But yeah, all the troops rocked up on the weekend.
I mean, Kyle Walker didn't play, but I do think like Semenyo played on the left for Bournemouth again, and I do think part of Bournemouth's pre-game plan would have been, Semenyo versus Lewis. I spoke about this on one of the pods towards the end of the week after the Tottenham City game last Wednesday as well.
I meant Kyle Walker did play, right?
Yeah, Kyle Walker played. No, I mean that the targeting of Lewis, though, would have probably been... Bournemouth wouldn't have prepared for Kyle Walker to play.
No.
I don't think.
No, I agree with that.
And I presume from that perspective, rather than them putting Semenyo back to the right, they've obviously had a structure of how they wanted to play and decided to stick with it. And he is so threatening, Semenyo.
Yeah.
He's a great fantasy
Could have, should have
option.
scored another one early on as well.
I was quite keen for people to play him at the weekend. I know like Roger scored as well, and I know that's one people were deliberating. He could have scored more. He's a really good asset. They come into good fixtures this week. Neil Grover's coming on Clash of Correspondence this week. There's a reason why we specifically wanted Bournemouth on this week, because it gets really good for them now. Semenyo is the standout. Evan Nielsen is potentially an option for those looking at a forward up front. I'd just be cautious. We do hit December quicker than we'll feel from a fantasy perspective, and there's midweek fixtures there. Does he start all 3 games in that sort of week? It's the sort of thing we need to start thinking about with certain players. And defensively, they've all dipped. And the one that will get attention now, another one to find money potentially, Milos Kerkez.
Yeah.
2 assists at the weekend. He was one we spoke up a lot
when they signed him. Yeah, I remember having that conversation.
Because his attacking output had been really good, and he gave a nice little interview after the game as well, almost speaking about his own confidence in doing that offensively now at this level. That's the most interesting one. There doesn't appear to be any real threat to his place in the team. Zabani is also an alternative. The right backs are worth avoiding at the moment. Travers has done okay over the last couple of games, but I think when Kepa is available, he'll go back in the team. That's an enabling goalkeeping option that won't be on the table for almost anyone at the moment. They're a good side. I really like the midfield too of Cook and Christie. Good team.
They're just so well coached. Like, I love their
7
manager.
points from Arsenal, Villa, City. Whatever the circumstances, there ain't a team in the country wouldn't be happy with that return.
Of course. Yeah, 9th.
That includes City's and Arsenal's.
I think Bournemouth, obviously you spoke about the fixture run coming up. I think they'll be looking at a potential European tour there. I think they're capable, if injuries are on their side, of sneaking their way in.
The problem is, though, what was their result before those last 3?
Yeah, fair. Let me ignore that.
They lost at Leicester.
Yes, very true.
So to hit that where you'd see them breaking into the top 8, no, probably not. But I don't think a top half finish is definitely not beyond them.
No, absolutely.
Definitely. They are well capable of finishing top half. And that's impressive now. Because they've had tough home games as well. Been competitive in all of them. It's only really sort of Liverpool away. Got kind of well beat, but they'd had moments even in the first half of that game as well. They're a difficult side. The idea of looking at Bournemouth as the sort of team that you'd want to kind of captain your players against,
that's long gone now.
You can, particularly if you're at home to them, but no, they're just a really good mid-table team with capability. I agree with you, capability to do more, but they've got to find the consistency.
Yeah,
Semenyo is a really good option for City.
Haaland captainers at the end, that double chance. I think it was harder than it looked, in my opinion.
Don't be surprised they get beat again at the weekend.
Mate, I've been saying this for a while to my kind of Arsenal friends.
I think this fixture is better for them.
Yeah, I agree. Brighton away is slightly better than Bournemouth, but then after, it's more the grouping of the games. I think they've got Sporting away midweek, then Brighton away, then Tottenham, then Liverpool. Like, as a block of games, that's tricky. And they don't look in their best moment at the minute.
I mean, it's final at home on the Tuesday
after
they play us. They play us between 12 and 13. So they've got good spacing from their Champions League game to the Liverpool game, which is important for them. And listen, they're in a really good position in the Champions League. So, but I think they'll be aware now that Liverpool are in this.
Yeah,
momentum-wise, Liverpool will feel like they're very much in this. So it does feel like a 3-team race at this moment. I don't quite see Chelsea joining that. And definitely what I saw yesterday, Villa won't be joining that. Haaland owners.
What to do?
Well, I think at this moment it's stick.
For just this week or in general? Like, for people that own Haaland but not Salah, is that not a move you'd be looking to?
What's better about it this week? Salah against Villa, Haaland at Brighton?
No, not this week. It's more just looking at it as over the next 2. Well, I guess Tottenham at home. Yeah.
Like, look, Romero's picked up a problem yesterday.
Van der Ven's out, yeah.
Yeah. Like, Haaland might still be the best. He's probably still the best captaincy in 12. And I know Palmer's got Leicester away. Salah's got Southampton away. It's probably still Haaland against my team. It's spun the other way, right? Early in the season, everything fucking went in for him. Now it's the opposite, where I wouldn't say we're at a stage where he can't hit a barn door. No, of course not. But the underlying numbers has leveled out a little bit. It's worth remembering his underlying is so much bigger and better than everybody else in terms of XG. Like that at Wolves where he's barely had a chance, he's such a rarity. And in some of these harder looking fixtures coming up, he might find space a little bit more to his liking, particularly obviously the Tottenham game in game week 12. So don't lose faith in Haaland, is what I would say. If people want to move that because they want to move their structure, people will know I'm probably kind of pro that, right? As I've said, this isn't now I told you so. It's not that at all, because I think what's happening here, I'm very scared that Haaland's going to go mental against particularly my team in 12.
Yeah, there was another player you called that on. I forgot who it was when you said Dr. Tottenham, but yeah, it's completely escaped me who it was.
Well, our away record as well is horrendous. We're 2 different teams at the moment.
For Rico Lewis owners, do you think that's just a one-off in isolation?
I think if you invested in Rico Lewis, you surely knew that this was something that would happen at some stage.
Yeah.
And it's worth saying, although Pep did say he's the one player I can't give a rest, he's also at the same time told you, I want to give him a rest.
Yeah.
So once Kyle Walker is available, like if we'd had the information Kyle Walker's available and Pep said, I want to give him a rest but can't, but all Kyle Walker's available, people would have got a bit nervous. None of us thought Kyle Walker was available. So what I would say is Cole Walker didn't play well on Saturday. And I think Rico Lewis largely is probably ahead of him. But City are vulnerable. I'm quite clear on this. The biggest reason for that is the absence of Rodri. And Rico Lewis is vulnerable to being attacked by the opposition.
Yep.
If I'm playing against them, I'm hoping he's playing.
Yeah. Despite being a magnificent footballer, talent. It's the defensive side.
With City, you're like, how can I hurt you? So I know, for example, we go there in a couple of weeks. Sonny can't do Cole Walker. As bad as Cole Walker's been, and I know Sonny's got a really good record against City, but Sonny won't face up Cole Walker and beat him. He might face up Rico Lewis and beat him, because I told you, Werner looked at him on Wednesday and went, I love you. Now, if Timo Werner thinks that,
then there's something there. That's
such a low confidence player. What's Semenyo thinking? Like, if he's going to look at him, for example, what's Mitoma going to think on Saturday?
Yeah,
absolutely. If Mitoma's going to look at him and think, I love you. So that's a problem and a balancing act for City, I think, to get over. And it might be that it's to Lewis's detriment moving forward. I would not suggest that anybody who's gone Rico Lewis panics and sells him or anything like that. And in the majority of games, I think, play. But there's a few coming up where you may have been thinking, oh, I might rest him anyway.
Yep.
Brighton, Tottenham and Liverpool are three teams that are definitely all capable of scoring, at least against Manchester City.
Vardiol for a defender, how does he keep popping himself up in these positions?
Which is like 3 goals in 5 or so, is it?
Something
and
like
it's
that.
a stunning header.
What a header, yeah.
He scored a really good goal at Newcastle, and obviously the goal at Wolves is a long-range goal. So there is an overperformance there at the moment. He's definitely not positionally quite what he was at the end of last season that made me think, I have to have him. I don't feel that way at the moment. I think he's a player that I'm very much watching. Again, those who invested are going to be really, really happy at the moment. He doesn't feel like, I should dive in there with these next 3 fixtures. I'd be doing it if I needed to find that money, i.e. like Trent to Vardiol is not an impossible move, but I'd be doing it more for money reasons rather than I want Vardiol specifically for the next few games.
Yep.
But we might come to a position afterwards where it's like, okay, yep, I definitely want a piece of that. And if Cole Walker did take Rico Lewis's place back permanently, which I don't think will happen, by the way, then yeah, way more interested in Vardiol. Foden.
That chance at the end. Well, it wasn't. It was hard.
It was unlucky.
Yeah.
It was really unlucky, Phil Foden. The chance from the edge of the area. What do you do there? You keep faith? I suppose Foden owners were probably thinking go to Son this week. I'm going to guess in a lot of cases. You can't make that decision till after Thursday in terms of what Son's fitness is. But, largely no investment new in City at this minute. Come back, Gameweek 14, really.
Yep, agree. On to the next one. Heartbreak for Ipswich. Last few seconds away from their first win of the season. Ipswich 1, Leicester 1.
Yeah, it could have been very different. They probably should have had a penalty. And then straight after that...
That was the same sequence, wasn't it?
Yeah, sequence is a good word. Calvin Phillips gets sent off. And Phillips is silly. He's on a yellow card. He just leaves his leg in. He kind of pulls it away, but he leaves it in at the same time. So I don't think I have too many complaints with a second yellow. I think if it was the first yellow, you'd go, yeah, that's a yellow card. So I think he's deserved it. But it was probably a penalty.
He got flattened, didn't he?
There is definitely something within the game at the moment where I think, I don't want to call that excessive force, but if you don't use your feet or your hands, you are very liable to get away with anything at the moment.
Yeah.
It's not just in the penalty area. It's just generally, even like when I see defenders going into the back of forwards and stuff like that, as long as you don't actually have hands on or foul with your feet, if you just go in really physical, you are liable to get away with shit at the moment, honestly. So from a consistency perspective, I actually get it, but that's a penalty as far as I'm concerned.
Me too.
But I don't think we know factually who would have taken it, if that's of any interest to us. Really well taken goal by Leif Davis.
He took it quite weirdly, I think, because usually on the volley they like hit it with their laces, but he kind of side-footed it in.
Yeah, but interesting in the fact that it was with the side foot rather than his laces. He actually's got a
clearer
just to strike, almost just control it.
I just thought it was a bit unusual.
It was
great
unusual.
finish.
It was a lovely goal. And I know people would have either played or benched this week or own. You probably won't be doing that this week. He does have the hallmarks of, like Alfie Doughty last year, going to pop up with some offensive returns. Don't expect too many clean sheets with it. And I'm loath to say that because guess who they're playing this week, right? It's like 1-0 Ipswich. Solanke, Leif Davis, 15-pointer. It's like written all over it. Realistically, though, I probably wouldn't be playing my Ipswich defenders going into this week. Burgess continues to play at 3.9. If you are desperate for that fifth defender who's as cheap as possible and playing, he is at the minute, but it won't last once Jacob Greaves is fit. Ben Johnson came back in at right back, first game back, and he will probably, I would assume, play right back again against Tottenham at the weekend. Delap came back into the team despite her scoring at Brentford, and he's a reasonable player around about stat value. Honestly, you're not buying Ipswich this week. Who have Leicester got this week, Clates? It's escaping me.
Leicester have got Man United away.
Yes, you're not buying them this week either, despite what we often say about Manchester United. Mavadivi and Fatawu both played again. I don't know if that's opponent dependent, i.e., I'm not convinced they'll do that against Manchester United at the weekend. Interestingly, Vestergaard came into the team in place of Akoli, and James Justin didn't start. Christensen come back in and Ricardo Pereira moved back to right back. Yeah, Garnacho against Pereira, if that would be good.
Yeah.
That would be really good.
Do you think that was just
it could just be a
one-off?
More of the ball. Pereira, obviously under Maresca, used to move from full-back inverted into midfield. That's obviously not something that's going to happen under Cooper, I shouldn't imagine. I don't think they did that at the weekend. I'd be surprised. So I would guess that James Justin, in seriousness, probably comes back in the team. I wouldn't be surprised if they firm that up and go Skip and Winks and then a Diddy ahead of that for Manchester United away at the weekend. They have done that in a few away games so far. So both these teams be in trouble. Another return for Jamie Vardy. Well taken goal by Jordan Ayew.
It's a really nice pass, I thought. Like the weight of it
really
in between the two defenders.
Really,
I think that's harder
good.
than it looks.
I think if you are a Vardy owner, though, you're probably thinking, I'm moving that now.
Yeah.
I think now. It was a nice run. Now it's kind of ended. Yes, even though it's Manchester United next. I think if you're a Jamie Vardy owner, you are looking to move that on.
After that, it's Chelsea at home and then Brentford away. Like, that's not a great trio.
Brentford away is a good fixture. For the
good
attack.
fixture?
For Vardy it is. Yeah.
Okay.
For any attacking player, Brentford is a good fixture. That's my opinion at the moment. I think Raul Jimenez owners, I think you might be in for a good night this evening. I hope I've jinxed you. I don't own him. Do you own him?
I do.
Good choice, Clates. Well done.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I might have gone that on Wildcard as well, maybe. Actually, no, I wouldn't have, because I showed you a draft. I wouldn't have, actually. I don't think there's not much worth covering anymore on these two teams, other than to say, one thing I would add is on Leif Davis, he is very interesting going forward offensively. On what I've seen of them so far, his concentration is bad.
Okay.
Brennan Johnson will do him badly if his concentration is bad. Not as in Brennan Johnson's going to take him on and beat him badly 1v1. I'm talking about stand, ball in behind, done. Because his concentration loses it. Ball watches quite a lot. And I'm not going to buy Brennan Johnson, I'm fairly certain, because it probably would be a 1 week punt. And then I've got 3 Tottenham going to Man City. I think Brennan Johnson could have a good weekend.
Fair play. On to the next one. Liverpool 2, Brighton 1. As the Arsenal fan in me, I was sat there at 3:10, saw Bournemouth 1, Man City 0. Then 3:15, saw Brighton 1, Liverpool 0. But Liverpool, fair play to them. They came back 2-1. They're flying.
I told you Bournemouth would win this weekend. I didn't tell you Brighton would win.
No, you didn't.
Back in your box. One of the interesting things that came out of this was people talking about the atmosphere, which has been heavily criticised at Anfield over the last year or so, and people actually saying that the atmosphere swung it in Liverpool's favour, like the crowd. I wonder if the crowd had sensed that you'd lost, knew that City would lose,
possibly,
and it's like
you can have that 12-man effect then.
What an opportunity at the same time. I wonder. And I wonder if there's now that sense for Liverpool because of those results as well. I mean, they're clear at the top now, are they? Are they 4 points clear?
They're on 25, City on 23, Forest on 19, and Arsenal on 18.
Okay, so only 2 points clear of City. But they'll feel like they're right in it now, right?
Yeah, well, 7 points between Liverpool and Arsenal right now.
I mean, Liverpool and City, the only two teams more than 2 points per game, right?
Yep.
Forest on what, 19?
19, correct.
Yeah. Well done to Forest. I don't think you're going to stay there.
Why you got to say that?
Well, it's just been...
We'll get on to that next. Stick with
Also,
Liverpool.
we're not playing them for a little while. Oh, they're playing you really soon. Maybe it's something to do with
I
that.
didn't say anything
And
negative.
Newcastle, another team I largely, other than this weekend, don't want to be getting points. No, good result for Liverpool. There's a few takeaways from this, other than sort of the Salah stuff. Shimikas left back might stick. He does need watching because he's not bloody cheaper than Trent, for example. But it's never going to be he's playing left back every game.
No.
So you'd have to take that rough with smooth. And when he doesn't start, he's probably going to come on as well.
Yeah.
So if you end up going for a player like that, there is going to be 1 point.
1 pointers in there, yep.
I think Van Dijk is the highest scoring defender in the game now, I want to say. And he probably should have converted one that Trent had swung in from the left as well, actually. It's another way to find money. On Ibrahima Konate, many people might saw him coming off at half-time with his kind of arm in his shirt. He posted on Instagram yesterday saying he'd be available for Liverpool's next game. So I presume he's going to play against Leverkusen tomorrow.
Okay, fair play.
So he's fine. Joe Gomez obviously came on in his place rather than Jarrell Quansah. So the idea of when Konate gets fucked, we're going to buy Quansah straight away. No, we're not actually. It looks like it would be Joe Gomez. And Joe Gomez has never scored for Liverpool. So probably don't really want to invest in that if that moment came. But we think Konate is okay. Trent is getting to a point that there's a decision to be made.
Yeah, I got rid of him on my wildcard.
The biggest thing for me with Trent is I know it's a really long way back once he's gone. And I feel with Trent, it just takes one really good game and people don't hesitate and they want to go back.
Yeah, he's got a game in him where he can go and just get a double.
And from a strategic perspective, I at any point can go, I'm going to go to Vardy or I'm going to drop that to Van Dijk or whatever. I think it's probably, he stays for the next two for me, I think. And then there's a decision to be made when they play City, probably. The fixture, although it's not like he can't return in that game, the fixture gives an excuse to potentially move it on. There are some challenging away games for Liverpool afterwards as well. Newcastle straight afterwards, I think.
And then Everton the week after that.
Everton, it's more challenging for Liverpool than it will be for other teams. Although until last year, historically, they had a really good record there. Tottenham, I think, is their away game after that as well.
Correct, yep.
Within that, there must be some good home games, in fairness.
Fulham is the only one. And then Leicester after Tottenham.
Okay. Yeah, there'll be a decision to be made, I think, following this with Villa. But I could cut him off now. I might go, yeah, that's where my money's going to be. Doesn't feel right, particularly for that Southampton game in 12. So, yeah, consciously aware of that. I've already spoken about Mo. The thing with Mo that's changed for me over the last couple of weeks as well is I had Jota, and I felt like I could be really competitive against Mo with Jota. Not that Jota's going to cover Mo, but Jota playing regularly as the 9 will get enough returns that it still gives me a captaincy option. Like, the irony is, if Jota had been fit this weekend, I would have captained him.
Yeah,
I'm
I
pretty
remember you
sure.
saying that a few weeks ago, actually.
I'm pretty sure that would have been the case for me. And it's why I didn't mind people who punted Darwin Núñez at the weekend. It's my biggest problem with Núñez would have been what happens once we hit the Southampton game if Jota's back fit, because you don't want to sell there. Then you move in 13 and it's like, oh, I've missed Jackson against Leicester, I've missed Isak against West Ham, missed Watkins against Palace. Like, it would never feel right. So that was one of the reasons it wasn't on the table for me. It does feel like Gakpo might be ahead of Diaz now.
Yeah. Yeah, it does look that way.
It's beginning to feel like that.
I have to give credit to Slot, to be fair. I know you spoke about the atmosphere, but he obviously made the 2 changes on the 66th minute, and then the goals came straight after.
Price is Curtis Jones.
Oh, I would have to check that.
This is the second week in a row I've felt like saying this. I really think it needs watching. I reflect on the conversation we had in pre-season about Szoboszlai and McAllister when Slot got the job. And we said, at one point this season, one of those two will be a really good option, we think. Now, we weren't sure at that stage who was going to be the 10. Now, clearly that's been more like Szoboszlai.
He's 5.3, by the way.
But I think over time it could become Jones, you know. He's really good off the ball.
I think, did he play the ball out to Salah before Salah went and smacked it in?
Was it his assist?
Might have been. Yes, it was.
Not one for now. I think it's one that needs monitoring, Curtis Jones. Not to say buy him over. Like, you couldn't buy him over like your Semenyos and stuff like that at the moment. Just needs monitoring, I think, over a long period here. where, let's say Szoboszlai did pick up an injury for a while, I think it could be really interesting.
Okay, one to keep an eye on.
The problem is with like Semenyo and Rodgers, you don't need to. That's all. But it needs monitoring. For Brighton, really good run of fixtures after this weekend. Mitoma will be of interest. Kadioglu is obviously going to get attention because he's a defender who's played right wing the last couple of games. And scored. And it's a cracking goal. Let's just remember, though, that Mincer can play there, has been unavailable. Simon Adingra can play there. Solly March can play there, who is basically now just at needs fitness stage. He's not injured anymore, as far as I'm aware. And they can also play Jorginho Rutter out there, which is an increased possibility because João Pedro flag has gone. And for those who have held...
He's back on.
We're there. We're there. Now, I joke. People are going to kill me for this, right? Because I've been saying every week, just get rid. And then suddenly it was like, on Friday I was doing stuff for our team news stream. It's like, where's the flag gone? Is he actually available? Where's the flag gone?
Was he in the squad?
He wasn't in.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't in the 20. It is now, I think, with subs, isn't it? But as far as we're aware, injury is gone. So probably back in the squad against Manchester City this weekend. And then the fixtures are really good afterwards. One of the things I was thinking about the Salah and Larson move, if I ended up making that sort of thing, was timing-wise, Larson playing Southampton, you do think, okay, that's okay. Then if I moved Solanke to Isak, because I've got Rodgers against Palace, probably don't play Larson at Fulham. And then just move Larson on to João Pedro.
Bring him back in.
In game week 13, maybe. Well, it wouldn't be bring him back in for me. It would just be bring him in. He is 5.4. And with the fixtures Brighton have from game week 12 onwards, but I think particularly from 13 onwards, yeah, there could be some fun there. Look who they're playing in 13 as well.
Is it Tottenham?
It's Southampton.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, on radar. But so too will be Welbeck. So too will be Rutter. I have a little bit of a fear with them that there might be too many cooks there to find a good fantasy asset.
Yeah,
that's
agree
the
with
only thing. Defensively, the one to invest in, I think, is for Verbruggen.
Okay.
And I'm considering that. Again, if I want to decide to find the money, what I'd be loath to do, Clay, this is interest where it psychologically affects you. One of the ways to find money for me could be to downgrade Raya. Right, I don't want to downgrade Raya in 12 because that's like when your fixtures get good. So let me just do that now. Hang on, but Verbruggen's playing Man City. Yeah, I get that. But I got Fabianski this weekend, home to Everton. Okay, let's just focus on the Everton aspect of that rather than the West Ham aspect of that. I'm not the guy who went with both West Ham goalkeepers on my wildcard, Clayton.
No. To be fair, Flappy made a couple good saves in this game, but
which means he probably keeps his place.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm playing Flappy over Raya this week.
Let's do it.
I've got two Chelsea attackers as well, so I've got to. Verbruggen, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I could do it now. Leave Verbruggen on the bench this week, and then he's ready to go for me for them good fixtures. Maybe.
Right, James, got your Ribena already? Nottingham Forest 3, West Ham 0. Ola
Aina,
what a man.
Is it?
That is the coolest interview I've ever seen.
Can I just say, Daniel Levy, I know you're a fan of the podcast, and you know I speak to you quite a lot about Mitoma, so it's like segue. Ola Aina, please.
You asked if...
just absolutely perfect inverted cover for either fullback position. I really, really like him.
You know, you asked if Virgil van Dijk was the highest scoring defender. He is. Ola
Aina's
Aina's
like
third.
Yeah.
Only a few points behind him.
That he's not going to do every week. It's a stunning goal.
Did you see how he described it? I'm paraphrasing it. It was essentially like, I was tired, so I just hit it and thought, let's see what happens.
He's obviously a very confident and also very laid back, but he doesn't play laid back on the pitch. He's very aggressive. I think he's a very intelligent footballer. He obviously probably doesn't have the opportunity to move inverted like perhaps I've seen him do in the past so much under this structure. But I think he's very capable of it. I mean, he's a very good footballer, good defender. Came through the academy at Chelsea, didn't he, I think? Yeah, good player. Yeah, Daniel, that just solves... I don't have a decent fullback cover at the moment, and he could push the other two as well. Right? Good player. Sorry. Nottingham Forest, this is what happens, right? When you get good, People come for your players.
Stop shitting on Forest. Just give them some praise. 3-0, 19 points, 3 games played.
Don't own Chris Wood, Clayton.
Sorry, I meant 10 games played, 3rd in the league. And yeah, Chris Wood on absolute fire.
Isn't he? Yeah, I mean, he couldn't miss that one. But they do very much play to his strengths, right? His job is, absolutely be between the sticks at the right moment. And he's obviously in a rich vein of form. I'll repeat what I said last week, that he's of no interest to me at this moment. For those who own, that's great. No one's telling you to sell. For me, the trainer's gone, yeah, but James, he's the 3rd highest scoring player in the league over the last 10 months. Yeah, I get that. But there are some very difficult fixtures coming up. And I've already spoke about the amount of forwards I may want to buy in Game Week 12. If I'm looking at Chris Wood away to Arsenal, I'm already thinking of moving that in Game Week 12.
Yeah, I think I've missed the train on this one, personally.
So... yeah, listen, we should have been there. We should have been on that train. Even despite Dom's haul, I'd have been better off with Chris Wood over the last number of weeks. So, yeah, it's one that for me, it's come back on view at the right time. It is worth saying as well, just as a note for people that do own, he's got Ipswich at home in 13. It may feel a little bit like the Solanke scenario for me this week. Liverpool and City play each other in 13. You're at West Ham, I think, Clayton.
Yes, correct.
We have Fulham at home. Doesn't feel great, I would say, if you were considering like a Son or Solanke for captaincy. Chelsea and Villa play each other. Yeah. But as Ipswich at home.
It's just more, it's sandwiched in between though. So now they've got Newcastle at home, Arsenal away, the Ipswich one you said, but then it's City away, United away after that.
And it might be a much better United by the time we get there.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see.
Yeah. And Newcastle actually, despite some criticisms when they were winning games earlier on, actually the performances have been better over the last few, and defensively, okay. Their big problem is pace in behind running. If they can find a way to deal with the 2 wide players again, I actually fancy them to defend the penalty area better against Wood. That makes sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Not that I think, oh shit, Chris Wood's a bad option this weekend. I'm just saying. Yeah, it's not for me. That moment's gone. But it's not just a Wood impact. It's almost also feels like an impact for me just on Nottingham Forest generally. I think Sells, Aina, Mikalenkovic, Gibbs White's back fit, Elliot Anderson's cheap, the Hudson-Odoi particularly in the wide areas. I'm not looking at any of these players because the fixtures are about to get ugly.
Yeah. And
they've been absolutely brilliant. For them to be on 19 points from 10 is staggering. Remember, this is a team that finished on 32 last year.
Yeah.
Which includes...
I didn't realise that.
They finished on 32.
Wow.
That includes them winning at an already relegated Burnley in game week 38. They could have stayed up on 29 points last year, right? So for them to be well over 50% of their total from last season is astonishing, deserve mass credit. They are putting themselves in a position, much like what we've discussed with Bournemouth, to be genuinely saying, can we finish top half?
Absolutely.
Now, the position they're in, yeah, that's even more so than Bournemouth. You start doing the kind of the Tottenham thing from last year, like, could we finish in Europa League place, for example, or something like that?
I think they're within their rights to think about it.
Yeah, because let's look at it this way: there's 28 games left, right? Let's say they got 1.5 points per game from that. What's that? 42 points?
Yes.
Yeah. So that puts them on what? 61?
Yep.
That'd probably get you in Europe.
Would it?
Probably.
Okay.
I think there's every chance that'd be close. So that's all we're saying. Nottingham Forest for me, the rest of the season, 1.5 points per game.
As much as we say,
we'll put you in contention for Europe.
As much as we say the fixtures are tough, and they are the sort of side where I can see them getting a result in a couple of tough games as well because of the style they play.
Oh yeah, and you've seen that already, right? Because again, mitigating is their fixtures have been very good. They've only played 2.
They went to Anfield
of the expected top 8, but they went to Anfield and won and deserved it. They went to Stamford Bridge and drew. Now, Chelsea had a host of chances, but Forest had some big chances in that game as well. They also drew at Brighton.
Yeah, I forgot
Another tough game.
Yep.
So, yeah, the ability is there to do that, to get results in difficult games as well. What we haven't seen them yet is play any of the top teams at home. And within these great returns, they've drawn at home to Wolves, they've drawn at home to Bournemouth, lost at home to Fulham. So you can spin your narratives either way. It's a really, really good start for them. Am I investing in their FPL assets for no? No. Super result.
On West Ham, Edson Alvarez, what was he doing? Such a stupid tackle.
I mean, that helps as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. But like I'm sure there were 3 or 4 West Ham players in that area. Like, was it Elanga?
What goes? It was very similar to a really bad tackle from Pedro Porro and Ollie Watkins yesterday.
I've not seen that one, to be
Where
fair.
it's similar, same sort of thing, right? He comes sliding in, feet are towards the ground. He's not majorly, like, he's not trying to hurt the opponent or anything. Comes sliding in. If you don't win the ball, it's an automatic yellow card, right? Okay, one thing doing it when you're not on one, don't do that when you're a yellow card.
Yeah, stupid.
In the first half as well, I get it, if there's 2 minutes to go and you're desperate, all right, fine.
But that's the thing, like, it was 1-0 at the time. You never know how that game goes 11v11.
But what's the chance of even scoring in that? I get it, it's a threatening situation. But if you're on the yellow, you don't do it. If you're not on the yellow, fine, you take one for the team. I get it. It's honestly, players who let down his team, and I gave him a lot of praise actually after the defeat against us, because he came on and actually showed a bit of commitment. Well, he's used that to the wrong way there, unfortunately. It's interesting, West Ham would proper praising him on their socials. Have you seen those?
No, I haven't.
I forget what they were calling him. But
wait, do you mean before the game or
no? During the game, like in the first half.
Okay.
They were like, I don't know what they call him, but they were like, like linchpin or whatever in the middle, booking. Julian Lopetegui, he's in trouble if West Ham don't get a good result at the weekend. He's already lost a large contingent of that following.
Yeah.
It's not to say West Ham should give up on it or whatever, but at the moment, it is not working. All they look like is a team that's more vulnerable than they used to be without improving anything offensively. That's how they look to me at the moment. They look like a team who you always thought, oh, it's such a tough team to play against. You look at anybody playing West Ham at home now and you go,
fancy him.
Make that colour green, mate.
Yep, agree.
Yeah, I think they played with Bowen in a more central area at the weekend. Obviously, Kudus being suspended is not helpful. And it's not helpful they've got like Kudus and Alvarez suspended now for Everton. Be better off getting Bowen back out wide and having Antonio's presence at the weekend, or just doing something different to what they are doing at the moment. But that said, they went to a back three at the weekend. That's not helped. It seems like a really odd time to do. Let's play against Forest, a team that's really passive and happy not to have the ball so much. Now let's go to a back three. There's things like that are really questionable for me. Yeah. I get it. So if they lose at the weekend, they're suddenly looking over their shoulders.
Well, yeah, and then after that it's Newcastle away, Arsenal at home. So that could get...
Well, that's the point.
Pretty nasty.
But good fixtures from Gameweek 14.
Yeah, and things could look different then.
We said Bumo to Bowen in pre-season, Gameweek 14. That will take some bollocks to make that move, honestly.
Big time. Yeah. If anyone has the balls to do that right now, fair play. But yeah, things change quickly in football, right? Like,
How did you go to 2 West Ham keepers? Was it just the cheapest way to go?
I said, yeah, I didn't. I was looking at all the keepers. To be honest, if I could pick again, and this is very hindsight, it probably would be Sells, but then we just spoken about their fixtures. Like, I didn't want to go Raya, personally.
No, I don't think it's terrible, because once you land at Gameweek 14, it would look all right for a while.
Yeah, it was just a case of, like, Raya would have been the only one I would have gone for, and I didn't want to invest that amount of money, so I just didn't like the others. I was looking at Flecken, but I thought, do you know what? 4.4, 4.0, just go keep it cheap. Like, there wasn't much thought to it, as you can tell.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Sush says. He's doing Tottenham with me on Patreon on Wednesday. I suspect he's not happy.
Yeah, I suspect the same. One team that are happy this Monday morning, Southampton. Southampton 1, Everton 0. Is that their first win of the season, Southampton?
Is,
yeah, fair play.
Everton, the only one of the bottom 6 to lose this weekend, because the other 4 all drew with each other. But yeah, this game's very much summed up by Beto hitting the bar and Southampton scoring from the exact same counter-attack.
Yeah.
Fine margins.
Very.
I have an inkling that Southampton might win at Wolves at the weekend, actually.
What's that inkling based on? Like, is it purely the momentum from this result?
No, I'll talk about that when Wolves are not good, basically. We know what Southampton are. Good ball retention. They're playing this kind of hybrid back 4/back 3, really pushing Ryan Manning on from left back at the moment. They have improved defensively recently a little bit. If you factor in, since they made this change, I think the Bournemouth game, that was really bad in the first half, but since then, City away, hour against yourselves were all right, actually, Clayton. I forget who they played at home in between. That was Leicester, wasn't it? Where they were 2-0 up and then they had a player sent off, didn't they, at 2-1. I mean, it was effective 2-2 because Jamie Vardy would have scored if Ryan Fraser didn't foul him.
Yeah, that was the one.
But they've definitely been a little bit better defensively. They'll have a lot of the ball. Their big problem is scoring goals. Adam Armstrong's finally got one.
Yeah.
And very importantly, came back in the team. And I sat with Suj last week and I said, I think there's a good chance Tyler Dibling won't play against Everton.
You called it.
Now, that's not to mean those with Tyler Dibling really shouldn't panic about it. One, because you probably weren't playing him in the next couple of games in most scenarios anyway. If you were, then maybe, you do need to panic. He also could come back into the team.
Well, he came on very early, didn't he? Came on 59th minute in this game.
Yes. He's still going to be involved. It's not the case if he's been written off. Remember, this is a guy who got in the team. We saw him play against Man United. It was like, okay, he might carry this team. I think for most people, he'll be in as 8th attacker, and he should probably stay in as 8th attacker, and you just continue to monitor it for a little bit of time. It's 2 away games for them, or not 2 away games. Wolves away, but then might as well be an away game because it's Liverpool next. So there's a little period of monitoring that. If he's in your team generally as a starter because you've stripped your team that much, I wouldn't sell him this week, but I'd look at finding ways of getting a better 11 so that he wasn't starting this week. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
No interest in investing in Southampton. No, I don't think it's suddenly like, oh, yeah, clean sheet, let's play Harwood Bellis and shit like that. No, that's not the case. The fantasy deliberation here is to offer counselling for Dominic Calvert-Lewin owners. Genuinely, this is why my DMs are open. It's for Dominic Calvert-Lewin owners if you wish to message me or something.
I had a couple of people asking me why I wasn't going for him on my wildcard. I was like, are you mad? I couldn't do. He's in my draft team. That's fine. I can't put him in my main team.
Okay. If you haven't heard me say this already, you haven't listened to us much. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, historically, all throughout his career, has underperformed his XG. Not just this season. Just in all seasons, underperformed his XG, unfortunately. And I see people going, it's that shit West Ham next. Guys, enough. Everton, to me, at this moment, are, and I felt this when people go McNeil, and it's not a criticism because McNeil especially has done really well, right? I just don't want to look at my team and see an Everton attacker in there.
I know what you mean.
I just don't want to.
I do think in the next few they will score goals and do fine. I just don't want.
It's not
them
like at Calvert-Lewin's value. There's not 5 or 6 other really good options.
That's the thing. There's nice alternatives. It's not like he's the standout.
It's not like he's the cheapest and there's nowhere else to go. There are places to go. McNeil, I get it more because of the involvement of set plays, etc. And at least he was obviously fit at the weekend, stuff like that. Calvert-Lewin, even though it's West Ham next, that is a definite move on as far as I'm concerned. McNeil, not so much. But if I got McNeil and I haven't got Semenyo, I'm definitely looking at that move really soon.
Yeah.
Possibly even now. Maybe. I'm pretty sure now that Jared Brantwaite will come back in for Michael Caine at centre-back.
Keane almost scored, to be fair. It was quite a good save.
Everton do have a couple more good fixtures. So, again, Mikolenko for enabling, I think it's a better way to go than Keane. Brantwaite surely comes back in the team. Now, I know why Everton have been ultra cautious with him because he came back, he broke down. I get it. But I think he'll be back in the team again this weekend. So that would be Michael Keane out unless they decide to go to a back 5, and it wouldn't. And for the Calvert-Lewin owners who are really, really, really sitting there going, no, but it's West Ham next. I don't even think it's a certain starter.
Really? Because of Beto? Like you said, there was
Beto's
fine
come on and
margins,
scored against Fulham. He's nearly scored here. He also, for the disallowed goal, took it really well. Really well.
Yeah, good point.
Now, Everton fans will tell you that Beto is shit. So I'm not saying get Beto, by the way. But over the last couple, he's scored.
He's had an impact.
He's been pretty unlucky at the weekend. Dyche might just take Calvert-Lewin out the firing line to help him for a game and just play Beto.
Maybe.
He might.
On Southampton's goal, I found that so satisfying. Like, it was just the kind of synchronous movement of like Archer going, I think, near post and then Armstrong peeling off. It was just very satisfying to watch.
They do some stuff that's really interesting, but I almost feel like the end bit's really good, but even the goal sums them up a little bit in terms of their deficiencies going forward, because originally, after the ball is cleared, they have a real opportunity to break really quickly down the left, and actually they refuse it and go backwards, and then they work it down the right, so it's not a criticism, and then they score from that side. But I think most other teams would have gone at the opposition more direct, quicker.
Yeah, more aggressive.
You are allowing the opposition the opportunity to get back into a position, particularly against an opponent like Everton. You probably really shouldn't do that. Now, it's worked for them on this occasion, but they are way too ponderous in the attacking top third to truly hurt teams. That's why, like I've just said to you, I think they might go to Wolves and win at the weekend. There's no way I'm not playing Aït-Nouri.
Well,
because it's still a decent opportunity for a clean sheet.
Let's talk about why. Wolves 2, Crystal Palace 2. Desmond, I think we both predicted that in the differential show.
No, I backed Wolves to win.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I didn't get them all right this week, Clayton. I didn't back Tottenham. I didn't back Tottenham to win either.
I think I got quite a lot right.
I didn't back you to lose either.
Where do you want to start with this one?
Okay, start with Wolves. So watch the game, obviously. Wolves in that first half were really bad.
Okay.
Really bad. You could feel the crowd turning. They really struggled to play out. Palace, not to the extent of the press they showed against my team the week before, a little bit more on waiting on mistakes. Wolves do not have the quality to play out from the back properly. They played more of a kind of a hybrid system with Aït-Nouri. It's kind of left back, but in possession, he can go wherever he wants. He can go wherever he wants in possession. He can end up in like a 10 position. That's why he's obviously really interesting from the fantasy perspective. However, they are, I think, I saw a statistic, 5 clean sheets under Gary O'Neill now, I think.
Wow.
I don't know how many games it is since they've won now.
It's a lot. Oh.
It's like 19 or 20 since they've won or so now. In the league. So they didn't win like the last 9 or 10 from last season. You go skip through games, Clayton, you'd be skipping back a long way, mate.
Yeah, you can
Find
see,
the green.
You can see me scrolling.
What's the last game they won?
I mean, the EFL Cup, but I'm guessing we're talking
Ignore
about
the
the
EFL
we're
Cup.
talking
In
about
the Premier
League
League.
here.
Luton.
Luton, correct. Saturday, the 27th of April.
Okay, and before that?
Oh, my God. Saturday, the 9th of March against Fulham, 2-1.
So you're telling me
Aït-Nouri scored.
one league game since March?
That's mad.
Right. I really like Gary O'Neill, but particularly in that first half. I mean, Palace threw the game away, really.
Do you think this is a similar case? Like, you remember when Palace sacked Vieira? A lot of people were saying like the hard fixtures had gone, and like I think they were on the horizon of having a good run. Do you think it's a similar situation? I know that like you've just spoken about how long it's been since.
Here's why I think Southampton might win on the weekend. So Southampton kicked the ball well. That most of us are probably in agree with. Now, if you press them properly, they're liable to make mistakes at that top end. I don't think Wolves are aggressive enough with their personnel at the top end. Like Cunha individually does it really well. I don't think they're aggressive enough. I think Southampton will go there and probably have a lot of the ball. I think that will possibly lead to frustrations where the average fan in the crowd will be like, "Is Southampton at home? Get on the ball, do this, that, and the other." Right? Just Southampton on a different side. I can see it turning quite poisonous still.
Yeah, I mean...
And if Southampton get in front, I think it might turn, not to the extent that they'd get battered, because I don't think Southampton are capable of scoring enough goals. But I can foresee a scenario where it becomes quite ugly, quite frustrating, they get beat, and that'll be the end. And I hope that's wrong, by the way. I do.
Why, do you like Gary O'Neill?
I quite like Gary O'Neill, yeah. I think like any of us who listened to him when he was on Monday Night Football were really impressed with some of the stuff he said.
Do you think that almost all gave us like a false impression?
Maybe, because it's been shit since he went on that programme.
It's like he spoke a good game on there.
Maybe he gave too much away. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe. Since Thomas Frank went on Monday Night Football, Brentford can't defend. So maybe managers don't go on Monday Night Football. No, please do. That's the problem is you've had the mitigating from because the fixtures have been really bad. Now you're walking into it. So Southampton on paper is near enough to the best fixture you can have. If you underperform in that, it's like, well, hang on. What, 1 win since March? Like I said, was that 5 clean sheets, I think?
I think that's what you said, yeah.
Since in the league, obviously, since he took over. Right, that's now, 48 games?
Yeah, that's bonkers.
And I've bought Aït-Nouri.
Yeah, same. And Cunha.
I'm considering selling him.
You just bought him last week?
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
He's up 0.2. This was part of the thing as well. I just knew people were going to steam into it. It'd be the same with Cunha and Larson as well. And by the way, I think Cunha and Larson are still good pickups. And even though I think Wolves might get beat on Saturday, I still might buy Larson.
Do you think?
Because I'm still playing the fixture.
I was just going to ask, do you think Cunha's worth the 1 million more than Larson?
Yeah, I do.
You do, yeah?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, even though if I go to Salah route, it obviously has to be Larson for me. If it's just a straight choice where I go, right, I'm not going Salah, but I'm taking Watkins out for one of them this week, I'm still going Cunha.
Sure. And
I think there's more avenues to it. It's worth saying those who are highlighting, like, I think Larson's maybe 2 points behind Cunha. He might be ahead of him.
Cunha's on 47 points, Larson's on 43.
Yeah, okay, 4 points between them. I mean, for the difference in money, you'd say, there's every case to say Larson's worth the saving. I don't think either of them are under particular threat in terms of their place to the team. I think that's pretty fair. What I can't shake is that feeling of, particularly with Larson, it's like, would I even want to play him at Fulham in 12? I'm like,
I mean, offensively, I think they're all right.
This is where it comes full circle. Is Larson at Fulham better than Solanke at Man City?
No. I think what we've spoken about, City and their vulnerabilities.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is me thinking, well, should I just... I've got Watkins. Like,
I mean, I'm not saying it's like a
be.
standout better, but I think not enough in it.
Yeah, those are the players anyway. Aït-Nouri, Cunha, Larson. There's nothing else to look at. I would hope that Forbes played at the weekend. He didn't. I don't know if he might have had a minor knock or something. Yeah, they struggled. Palace blew the game because of a strange moment. They should have been out of sight in the first half, Palace. Played really well. And remember, for them, obviously missing Eze as well, right? And not only that, but also Lerma, Wharton, and Doucouré came on very late. It's been back now. So you've ended up with Hughes and Kamada in midfield. That's probably Palace's full fifth choice, and yet Wolves couldn't dominate it. They got themselves in a really good position. They scored, which actually Larson heads the ball away from Sarr as he's trying to catch it.
There.
Shit goal. I mean, look at Aït-Nouri, by the way, behind the... Why just take a step to your left, mate? He steps right. He steps away from the goal and Chalobah whips it in the near post. Anyway, they lost the game because Mark Gay got caught out of position. And it's not a blame on Mark Gay, but I said to you before, that back three now is pretty strong with Chalobah, Lacroix, Gay. Gay carries the ball out, which is fine as left-sided centre-back. It's not a criticism of him. But then he loses the ball and Wolves go quick. And Cunha obviously gets the wrong side of Chalobah. And if Gay's just in his normal position, then they're still cutting it out against Larson. So Wolves smelt that moment really well on the transition. And then the crowd gets up and they scored a lovely goal afterwards. Lovely goal from João Gomes.
2 within 5 minutes.
Was really good in the last half hour. Although on the man of the match, I probably didn't watch the first hour. But anyway. And even then, from there, they didn't win the game. It's a bad goal conceded from a corner. And obviously, conceded a goal from a corner against City in their previous home game as well. So I don't know if there's a bit of a vulnerability there. There is also a rumour, because we've kept hearing Johnson will come back in for Sarr.
Okay.
And it's been 2 weeks now. It's like Johnson's fit, and then Johnson's not in the squad. I have heard a rumour of a bust-up.
Oh, really? Okay, that's not good.
So if you are a Sam Johnson owner, someone will be a Sam Johnson owner. You might want to go and get the West Ham combination goalkeepers. Palace, not looking at the moment.
No.
I don't think.
That
got next Palace this weekend.
Palace have got Fulham at home and then Villa away, Newcastle at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
with Eze out, no.
That chance made me laugh. I think it was Chalobah went to volley it in and he just kind of got his legs in a tangle, and then you see when Mateta just smacked it off him and it went wide.
Yeah. That's blinding. I mean, that, to be honest, that summed up the first half.
Yeah.
And then there was the incident at the end as well where Mateta scored and Sarr had his hand on the ball.
Yeah.
I think it was well refereed by Anthony Taylor, actually. There's a rare one for you. I think it was well refereed because he let the ball go in the goal before he blew the whistle.
Yeah, so
VAR could intervene if it was
you're meant to do, yeah.
But VAR wasn't going to intervene because VAR would have had to absolutely prove. I think it was Munoz went to challenge Sarr. They would have had to prove that it was literally no contact, and that wasn't the case. If you watch it back though, I've heard a lot of Sarr's in control of the ball. He's got his hands on the ball, so then that's the end of it. But it's Sarr's knee that knocks the ball out of his hand. It was never going to get overturned, but I also think if Taylor hadn't blown, it probably would have stood.
Yeah.
And the funniest bit of it all is Mateta. If you see it back, when he gets the ball played down the left, he's like, I can't run anymore. And he slings the cross in, and then it obviously falls back to him, and he ain't got the energy properly to celebrate or anything. He's out on his feet, Mateta. I think under the circumstances, actually a good result for Palace.
Yeah.
Considering the problems missing in midfield. Doucouré will, I would imagine, come back in midfield, and he's been a really big miss for them for quite a while. He's a really good player.
On to the Sunday games. Tottenham 4, Aston Villa 1. We were talking about this on Friday being a big game in the context of kind of Champions League football, and I know you think 5th place will be enough for that this year. But yeah, big win for your lot.
Yeah, it's a context because we're what, 2 points behind Villa now?
Yes.
So if we lose, it's 8.
Yeah.
That's the context.
Yeah,
that's the context. And by the way, that's the exact scenario when Tottenham went to Aston Villa and won 4-0 in March, was exactly the same. And what happened to Tottenham afterwards? Fucking season fell apart, by the way. So, fortunately, we're not playing Fulham away this coming weekend. Let's talk about Villa first. So, good first half, really limited us in terms of chances. Few standout performers. I think particularly Onana in midfield was really good in the first half. Rodgers, you can feel it when he gets on the ball.
Yeah, he feels like the power when he drives with it, right?
Yeah,
saw it against Arsenal when we played them earlier in the season.
It's the reaction of other people when he gets on the ball. Like there was a clear. I don't want to say take him out, but actually, yeah, there was a little bit of that.
Go on.
I think. There was a little bit. Like Bentancur was looking for him quickly, not to take him out per se, but it was like, if I have to foul you, I'm going to foul you like quickly as soon as you get on the ball. There was a real awareness of that. He's a really good footballer. I'd like to see him in the next England squad.
Yeah, I would as well. I think some of his decision making in the final third can improve, but I think his ability to drive with the ball is exceptional. But he's young, right? I don't know how old he actually is, to be fair.
The problem, I think, for them is if their structure is okay, they are good defensively. I think they manage the space in between when they want to go high and when they want to go deep off the ball. Pretty good. I think actually they defend better in terms of the penalty area sometimes when they're playing good teams, and perhaps concentration's a little bit more. I think what eventually happened was something I mentioned to you before you played them that was really concerned about for Villa, was about positions Odegaard would pick up because of that midfield two of Tielemans and Onana.
Yep.
And I think it had been really good in the first half, and then I think it really began to run out
Did
of
anything
legs.
Oh, that was it. That ran out of legs.
And obviously, we just changed momentum. Reality is, the game swung on a magnificent Heung-min Son cross. That cross is undefendable. And good luck with that.
Solanke was on the edge of getting that one as well.
Don't tell anyone that the holding midfield player nearly got a hat-trick, Clayton. Like, honestly, some of the takes, man. Yeah, that cross is obscene. And the shock in the ground when his number went up was like, what the? Because he'd just done it.
Yeah.
And Ange explained it afterwards, and he said, we couldn't afford to be breaking down again. And do you know what? It's good management, really.
Yeah.
And Richie had an impact when he came on. And actually, to be honest, other than the goal, Son didn't do a lot. It's worth saying. But that cross was obscene. And then there was a period in the game where there was a lot of injuries. Rodgers went off, then didn't want to go off. Romero went off, lost his rag.
Matty Cash went off as well.
And obviously at that position at 1-1, with us now having Dragoshin and Davis at centre-back rather than Romero and Van der Ven, and Sonny's gone off, I'm a bit concerned.
Yeah.
Because we'd played them last year, and we played really well in the first half hour. And this was the opposite. And then we really faded because we just didn't have the quality the longer the game went on, and Villa deserved to win it by the end in that game. But Davis won a challenge, and we scored a brilliant goal. A brilliant goal. Which, for anybody who thinks I'm reveling in this Dominic Solanke moment, let me tell you I did not revel in that moment because I did not celebrate.
Why? You thought it was a VAR offside job?
Yeah, from my angle, I knew he was behind Torres.
I can't actually remember this goal. Can you describe it for me? I can't actually remember it.
So Davis wins the ball, and it's all really central for Tottenham. Sarins, Kulusevski, reverse ball, Solanke off the channel.
Oh, yeah.
Thinks it over the goalkeeper. It's a beautiful goal.
Nice finish, yeah.
And, there's a player really suffering with confidence, by the way.
Yeah, that's the thing. To take a finish like that when the narrative around... Like, it shows that the narratives are very much external.
Yeah, the narrative's bullshit.
Yeah.
I said this, like, if people want to criticise the fantasy asset because his XG's been really low lately, that's absolutely fine. Don't criticise the player because he's been great. He's getting better every single game. I'm so pleased for him. And it swung from there, and then obviously then momentum, and they really struggled to play out from there, and we got a turnover off for the third, and it's another good goal. And Solanke arrives, ironically, in the exact same position that he arrived for a chance against West Ham that didn't end up going his way because Areola got a touch on the ball. Okay. So similar. But obviously that won't show on any of your XGs.
No, yeah. But it's nice to hold the run to kind of arrive in that time.
Exactly that. Because you know Johnson's going to be in front, and obviously his pressure off the ball is so good. He's got to be up there as one of the best defensive nines, and I take that. What people will read that the wrong way when I say defensive. No,
you mean
nines,
pressing? Like
we're talking about his off the ball work. Yeah, so good.
You said that in the summer when you got him. To be fair,
he's the forward that I wanted.
Yeah,
so pleased that we have him. He will obviously ultimately, of course, get judged by goals, etc., etc. So that's what I think it's 4 in 8 in the league or 5 in 10. He's not going to do Harry Kane numbers. This is roughly probably where he's going to be, probably 1 in 2. And for 7.5 million forward in FPL, I think that's perfectly reasonable, actually. There's a lot at cheaper, your Vissers, your Woods, maybe Cunha, Larson, who are probably over short spells going to do probably better than that, but they might also go on Calvert-Lewin runs.
Yeah, very much so.
I think Dom will be more consistent with what he does, but it costs more.
Final action was a nice free kick from Maddison. I saw on Slack, I think it was you, saying he was pretty good in the game.
Who matters?
Yeah.
Didn't play.
Wait, what? He scored the free kick at the end, no?
Yeah, he came on as sub.
Oh, fair.
Like last 10 minutes.
I might have misread on Slack.
It was a lovely free kick. Beautiful flight on it. And actually, he takes it so soon after the whistle. Martinez is not ready.
Yeah.
He's almost on the move as the referee's blowing the whistle. So a really clever free kick. Dom Solanke, however, and this is relevant to Maddison, was not Tottenham's best player yesterday.
Who was?
That was Pape Matar.
I think that's what I misread on Slack.
By a long way. He was brilliant. He had a big impact. You remember he came on against West Ham, when it was really surprising that obviously Maddison went off and spoke about running power. He's really aggressive. His work to get through the 90 minutes was the amount of work he got through. He was one of the few that played well in the first half, and he really drives the team forward. He's not a technical player like Maddison, but the balance when he plays of this team, when we play against really strong opponents, like Villarreal won, is much better when he plays. He almost definitely plays at Man City in 12, I would imagine. Therefore, James Maddison won't, because Dan Kulusevski is absolutely ahead of him at the moment.
Do you think it's as simple as that then? Those kind of top half teams, it will be your start, and then the kind of bottom half teams?
It might well be. So if you're a James Maddison owner now, you're like, but you don't want to sell him if you think he'll play Sunday.
Yeah, and if in the kind of air quotes easier games, it's more likely that Maddison comes in for them, then they're the games you kind of want him for, right?
Now, Maddison is probably going to start in Turkey on Thursday. Remember, that's a long haul away journey and stuff, right, as well. That's why I can't kind of commit to what I'm doing till Friday and stuff. But if Maddison goes and plays 90 minutes in Turkey, he's probably not starting on Sunday.
Yeah.
That's the best answer I can give you at the moment. If he doesn't, if he's 45 or 60 or something like that, I suspect there's every chance he'll play. It's also possible, by the way, that Galatasaray is obviously a really tough opponent for us in Europa League, that he rests a few against Ipswich.
Yeah,
i.e., could Maddison just start ahead of Kulusevski against Ipswich?
I just think at 7.6, do you think, like, you know what we spoke about Calvert-Lewin, like there's other alternatives, right? Do you think at 7.6 Maddison is the standout?
Oh, I'd definitely be moving him on, but you don't want to move him this week if you think he's going to play Sunday. And that's the reality, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you've got any Tottenham player, you don't want to sell that this week if you think they start Sunday. I'm in no doubt that Solanke will play on Sunday, even if he plays 90 minutes on Thursday, because Richarlison's just done his hamstring again.
Oh, is that what it was? Hamstring, yeah.
Yeah, if you watch it back on the goal he assists for Solanke, as he's putting the cross in, he's feeding his leg before Solanke's even scored.
Sure.
So Dom will play. And one of the reasons Tottenham really wanted Solanke as well, and Ange spoke about this, was his durability. I know he's had an injury this year, but actually, historically, he doesn't really get them. He is durable to the extent he could play 90 minutes on Thursday and then he could play Sunday. I suspect, and what I would like Tottenham to do, is kind of throw the game on Thursday. I know it's Ipswich at home Sunday, but it's just more important we get the 3 points on Sunday.
Yeah, and it's something we've spoken about in the kind of format in these new European competitions, right? You can give yourself the opportunity to go and get points.
I mean, if we go and win, we've near enough finished top 8.
Yeah.
But if we lose, we still definitely can. And we've won 9 points. We're not under any fear of going out here. Our last game is Elfsborg at home. If we have to win it to stay in the competition, I imagine we'll probably be all right. So there's no jeopardy on that. So, I mean, there's a few Tottenham players I wouldn't even have travelling out there. I really would pick an understrength team. I don't think he will, by the way.
I was just going to ask, do you think he'll actually do that, though? No.
No, because it's a big game. The one thing I would say is I think particularly for some of them younger players, that will be a great experience. Like for the likes of Archie Gray, Mikey Moore to go and play in that atmosphere.
Moore's been playing in that competition, right? Didn't he start in the last one?
Yeah, he started the last two. Yeah, he started both games, the last two. Yeah, it'd be a great experience for them to go and play in that atmosphere in Turkey.
Yeah, big time. That'll be a baptism of fire from.
If it all goes well Thursday, I'll be captain Dom this week.
Fair play.
I wouldn't go and buy him now.
Go on.
He scored twice against Villa. It's Ipswich next. He was always going to have Ipswich this week. What difference does it make?
Yeah, that's why some of us stuck him on the wild card, mate.
Well done.
Cheers, Jeff. I obviously would have hoped he lost, but
generally, though, if you do want to take 1 week punts, and I think they are only that at the moment because City is next. Solanke and Johnson are your two. As I've already said about Leif Davis, I think Johnson could have a really good day on Sunday. Defensively, forget it.
I remember you saying...
Just forget it now. It's enough, man.
So,
this is the 9th time we've come from behind in a home game and won under Ange.
For the people that do own Porro, I've seen some of doggies and drafts. Would you be advising people to move them then? Obviously not this week.
No, obviously not this week. The conversation is afterwards, isn't it?
Because Porro was one on my wild card. I was 50-50. Like, do I want him? Do I not?
I think he's not justifying it, the price at the moment. But I don't look at anything else. I think, I want you instead.
That's it. Yeah. And it's the upside of what he can be in a given week.
Now, I'd probably a little longer term, maybe even like to put him up to Vardiol. Maybe. And then just go Vardiol, Gabriel and Trent.
Yeah, power it up.
Then if I do that sort of thing, I probably have got to downgrade Raya.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you also think, well, why spend the money back there?
Oh, because three of those defenders are capable of things in open play almost any week. And then one's a set-piece monster.
More likely at this stage to just go Porro to Lewis Hall in Game Week 12.
Sure.
And play Lewis Hall at home to West Ham. And then I've got some money spare. It's probably more likely.
Makes sense. Should we cover the final game of the week so far? Because there is one more tonight. Man United 1, Chelsea 1. The Ruud Van Nistelrooy era in the interim.
The interim era. As Roy Keane said, they're good lads.
Yeah. That made me laugh. Doesn't matter about the result. They're good lads.
To be fair, Jamie Redknapp was like, well, he's got to say that, hasn't he?
Yeah. He's not going to call them pricks,
got to say that, hasn't he? Yeah, a bunch of pricks, yeah. Who were throwing pizza at each other again. Like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, interesting game.
Was it?
No. No. Actually, I recorded it and watched it on a delay as well. There's a lot I like about Chelsea at the moment, what they're doing. But I do also have a sense that people now see it coming. So we spoke about this quite a bit last week with Gusto's positioning. Mm-hmm. So Gusto went from left back into left half space 10 position against Liverpool. Then they did it the other way around against Chelsea. So Reece James left back. So therefore kind of Reece James and Palmer on the same side, if you will. Gusto moving from right back into right-sided 10. Then they did it the same way in the first half, but then flipped it the other way when they brought Cucurella on in the second half. I like Palmer more in that right-hand channel. I said that last week. I don't think it's necessarily a Palmer-James relationship because I think it's more about whether Cucurella or Gusto is on the pitch, basically. It does feel like that. But I also feel like it's twofold. One, it can be where Palmer can hurt an opponent most. Mm-hmm. And so that might have been an influence on the change. But also Palmer doesn't really put the work in defensively. But that's fine because out of possession they go to a 4-4-2 and Palmer joins Jackson. But therefore you have got the protection of Reece James on the same side of Cole Palmer, which in theory should help a little bit on transition. Make of that what you will. the problem is neither Gusto or Cucurella are good enough to be 10s.
Yeah.
They are good footballers.
It's a different ball game when you go in those areas, though.
They are not going to hurt in that area. You also cannot invest in either for fantasy, kind of as seen yesterday. And if you're investing in Reece James, because he's now played a couple of 90 minutes, the guy's playing like a defensive fullback role that becomes centre back.
Rather get Colwell.
Yeah. Okay, he's on the in swinging corners from Chelsea's left hand side. Other than that, I can't really see a reason to do it. Really. So he might get the assist. Yeah, Colwell or Fofana might be the one that scores.
Yeah, I
think that's how it feels at the moment.
I feel like it's Groundhog Day with James.
Back in the day, in the past, he would take free kicks as well from distance. Right, well, Cole Palmer's on them now, so you can forget that as well. So there's no reason to bother with Reece James. Sanchez or Colwell were potentials to have a look at. Again, kind of like that Verbruggen move. I could make it this week. Then he's in place from Gameweek 12, like with Sanchez. Similar with Levi Colwell. Jackson, regrets. I've had a few.
Oh, really? Yeah?
No, not really.
Okay.
Because the underline's really good from this season. It's the 4 yellow card problem. He's getting booked Sunday. He's missing the Leicester game. And therefore, Arsenal, Villa, should I be looking at, say, Isak now to him rather than that? And that's obviously a possibility of something to consider as well. But I do want Jackson long term, so I think just suck it up. The thing is, when I invested in him last week as well, I'm not looking at him thinking, he's never going to get 5 yellow cards.
No.
It's also worth saying, you might remember from last year, it was on 4 yellow cards for a really long time.
And then it stayed that way for a long time, yeah.
It's another shit booking where he's got put for not because he's fouled someone, because he's fucking chatting.
I feel like a lot of his come like that.
Stop talking, man.
Yeah.
Just shut up. He doesn't get booked for fouls. He gets booked for chatting and pushing people and stuff like that. But yeah, I'd want him there for game week 12 and that run onwards from there. Leicester away. I am conscious that they've got Southampton, I think, away as a midweek fixture, which looks really great on paper, and it does feel like one that, and Nkunku might play. But then yesterday, Jackson's played the 90 minutes. Never brought Nkunku on, never brought Felix on. He's clearly got it defined in his mind, his first choice players, and doesn't want to take them off if Chelsea are looking for a goal. The goal they did get, by the way,
what a volley,
was absolutely brilliantly taken by the best player on the pitch by distance in Moises Caicedo, who I'd probably say is near on being the best player in the league so far this season. I think he's been incredible for Chelsea.
Yeah,
every game I've watched of them, he's been brilliant. And I really like that partnership with Lavia. It lacks a little something in terms of its ability to really thread a pass, I think. But overall, as a dual and a double pivot together, you're going to be in for if you don't match them for fight, you're going to get beat.
Yeah, that's what I think. Arsenal really next week's going to be tough.
They'll both play against you.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. If you're as lackluster against them,
we'll get beat.
Yeah.
If it's the same, I agree.
Yeah, I think there's every chance you might get beat on Sunday. Do we know, has Odegaard got a chance? Or?
So, on Friday, there was kind of rumours that he could be in the squad against Inter midweek and be on the bench. So whether that happens, I guess, is the domino effect on whether he makes it for next Sunday. But we'll see the squad midweek against Inter and then kind of take it from there. I'd be surprised if he makes it to start against Chelsea.
It feels like a bad game for him to play. Be intense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
The way they are at the moment. They bring real physicality to the game in that midfield area now. Do we assume here that Reece James is left back to play against Saka?
I don't know. I don't know how to call that because, like you said, Cucurella came on half-time. We've seen Gusto play there. I'm not sure. Who do you think would be the best one? Because Cucurella historically has done very well against Saka, I think.
Did he play in the 5-0?
Yeah, ignore that one. Let's say 70-80% of the time. Like, he's had a few 1v1s against him. And
I mean, they were shocking that night, and they're not the same team now.
No.
So. I also, at the same time, though, I think the game was there for Chelsea. And I think decision-making at certain points at the top end let them down. Actually, there was one very unusual from Cole Palmer. Took a shot from the edge of the area, which was blocked in the first half, and he really should have put Jackson in. It's really unusual for him not to make that right decision because he's normally so good at it. He easily could have walked away with returns. It's his corner when Madueke hit the post. It was his pass for Neto that went just wide. That's why he's ended up with a bonus point from the game. So no concerns on Cole Palmer, although he is flagged as it stands. Because that's the second game I've watched this season when I don't know how Lisandro Martinez hasn't been sent off.
Yeah, bloody hell.
It's a red card all day long for me, mate.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about. He's got like this stamping action down on towards his knee.
He's done it before.
Ball's in the air.
He's done it before. He
had the 2-footed stamp at Palace.
Yeah. The only thing on this one was I did look like and think, did he maybe slip? But I think with just history on what he's like, I think he's got that kind of mindset where he goes in intentionally to hurt people in tackles. Lisandro Martinez, that is.
You know his centre-back partner is for Argentina, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, on that basis, enough of Nicolas Otamendi.
You done me there.
Christian Romero, obviously. Ex-Reds for Martinez, if people are looking at him. And I have looked at it because he's the cheapest one of the United assets.
Do you know, they've got so many options at centre-back.
I'd say the conclusion I've come to on them a little bit, though, is with Garnacho, I'm thinking, so I've got him in, and it's fine. And I think you could punt almost anything Manchester United over the next 3 games. Højlund, Fernandes, even Rashford, Dalot, Mazraoui, whatever you want, because the next 3 fixtures are that good. Leicester at home, Ipswich away, Everton at home. Like, if you want to punt something there, that's fine. I'd been looking at a longer term of rotating sort of Rodgers and Garnacho. So when Garnacho's got, say, Arsenal away and City away, Rodgers got decent fixtures. But I'm more looking at it now and thinking, yeah, do you know what? I might just be shoving like Rodgers to Semenyo in 14. Okay. Checks notes. Who Bournemouth playing in 14? This will make Clayton laugh.
They have got your team, Tottenham. Why do you do it to yourself?
Because I'm smart. We're a different team at home to what we are away. And that'll be a big game for Tottenham because, in all seriousness, we probably won't get anything at Man City in Gameweek 12. And our away form is disastrous. So, yeah, Semenyo against how open we are and stuff on transition in Gameweek 14. Yeah, I mean, for most people, it'll probably be buying before. But I'm more thinking anything I go to United, I might want to be moving it on in Gameweek 14. So just have a...
Well, with United...
We don't know what we're getting, right?
I was just going to say that,
in theory,
yeah.
Dalot and Mazraoui could be the wing-backs, and they both could be really interesting. And I've struggled to foresee any circumstance, really, where Dalot is not a wing-back.
When does he actually come in and take charge? Because I've seen...
So it's the Ipswich game.
Oh, so it is...
Officially, yeah.
So, yeah.
So Van Nistelrooy still does this week in Europa, and then the Leicester home game.
Yep.
And then Amorim comes in from the Ipswich game. They will almost certainly be 3-4-3. However, as well, you've got a factor. He's going to come in and he works on during the international break, and the majority of the players are away. But one good aspect of that Ipswich game is it's on the Sunday. So you probably have got Friday and Saturday to pick the right team and the right structure you want. If it was a Saturday, he might not have been able to do much. As it's the Sunday, there's a chance that he can do that. So I think they probably will go straight into the system he wants for that first game against Ipswich. That then puts someone like Garnacho under risk, I think, because Fernandes is certainly going to be in there. The more I've looked at what people have said over the last few days, it does feel like Fernandes will be sort of one of 2 10s behind.
Okay.
With one having a lean to one side, so like a Garnacho, say, to the left of him. And then if Dalot's the right wing back, he's got more of a duty to push on than the left wing back, for example. Like, it could be gold with someone like Dalot.
What would that mean positionally for a Garnacho, Rashford?
But they could also... I think like Garnacho could even play as a wing back in certain fixtures. I don't think that's improbable. And that's going to be... Just move that straight on if that's the case.
One to monitor on my wildcard.
I'm quite interested in captaining him against Leicester this week, but I'd only want to captain him if I know he's going to play on the left.
Yep. Yeah,
I'm just going to play on the right.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to watch when he comes in. Do you want to... That's a wrap of the games. Do you want to talk through the schedule for the week? And I'm going to pull up the questions.
People's poll tomorrow. Vote is available for you till roughly sort of 5 o'clock-ish or so. We can talk... It's an FPL, People's poll. We can talk about goalkeepers if you want. Or we can talk about forwards priced between Dominic Solanke and Ollie Watkins. Or we can talk about forwards priced at Johan Visser and below. You can cast your vote if you follow my Twitter account at Planet FPL Pod. In fact, I don't even think you have to follow. You can just go there if you don't want to follow. Wednesday will be Ask James this week, not Clayton and James, because Clayton will be in the San Siro, or the Giuseppe Meazza, I believe, because you're playing Internazionale, shout out Jamie Carragher, on Wednesday night. Clash of Correspondents, Brentford versus Bournemouth on Thursday. Therefore, Clayton and James show will be on Friday this week once Clates is back from Milan. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Q&A today for the podcast. Tomorrow, UCL Fantasy. Tottenham with a depressed Suj on Wednesday. Money in Football on Norwich's change of ownership on Thursday. Differential show Game Week 11 preview on Friday. www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Clayton, have you got any good questions?
We do, yeah. Quite a lot of them have been covered, but there's a few that can be grouped into one. But I'm going to start with the boss. The boss is in the comments with a question. The leader of the cartel, at Sujan Shah. Have you seen it? Is Dominic Solanke essential?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Says the expert.
Get him in.
No, of course he's not. And Suj is obviously asking in jest. No one in this game is essential.
On that note, though, there were a few questions in terms of which strikers are best over the next 5. And Damien Broynes, Broynes17, asks, would you go to Isaac, Solanke, or Watkins for the next 5? Which of those 3?
For the next 5 wouldn't be Solanke. The problem with Watkins, might end up talking about it more tomorrow, I cannot take my eyes off of that midweek fixture they've got.
Who's it against again?
So they've got Chelsea away on the Sunday in 13, and then it's Brentford at home on the Wednesday, I think, Southampton at home on the Saturday, and then Leipzig away on the Tuesday. You take Watkins out of any of them games, his fixtures don't look so good. Now, of course, the other one does look really good. But I'm looking at them 4 fixtures, and I'm thinking Watkins ain't starting one of them. And it probably ain't Chelsea or Leipzig away. And particularly the Southampton game, I think, he's probably one people be looking at for a captaincy. If he starts against Brentford, I don't think he can. Now, if I owned him and he didn't start against Brentford, I'd probably captain him against Southampton.
Yeah.
But then I've also got a 9 million asset who's not playing.
Problem.
The week before. Yeah, it's interesting.
Having Duran there is a headache.
It's not just that. Those 4 games falling in that quick succession is a problem. Yeah. He probably doesn't start one of those Brentford Southampton games.
And it's like good luck trying to call which one.
But also, like the one that he does start, he might do very, very well in. And that might make it worthwhile. I've spoken about this with Jackson. Like Chelsea's fixtures are great. I was asked about, what about if Nkunku rotates for Jackson at some stage? It's like, yeah, well, he will. But the other fixtures are all so good that it doesn't matter. But with Watkins, that's not quite the case.
No.
Because before is what we said, Chelsea away in 13. And then afterwards, I think it's Newcastle away afterwards, maybe, for Villa.
After Chelsea?
No, after the Brentford-Southampton game.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Forest away.
Forest away is not great. And then
it's Man City at home, then Newcastle away.
Yeah. See? Makes Watkins a bit awkward. I know a lot of people want to buy Watkins in 12, and I understand that. And also Palace, by the way. I know Wolves scored twice against them at the weekend. That back 3 is much better now. And they'll be better for Decore coming back in as well. I'm half tempted to lose Watkins this week.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm fully on board the whole hype on getting him in.
But I also just think he definitely, like I was with him last year, he could just sit there all year.
Yeah, he's like one of them glue players, isn't he?
Could be.
Alrighty. Next one is, we've had a few of these questions kind of worded in different ways around defence, and you obviously spoke earlier about a potential in your mind to go Trent, Gabriel, Porro, Vardio in defence. The question I'm going to take, combining all of them, is from Jack Zam. Should we all just go cheap as possible at the back? And then the flip side was some of the questions saying, are the premium defenders justifying their price tags?
So right now the answer's no. Like, are they? No. It probably goes for a lot of, Watkins, for example, at the moment. If you balance what Wood's doing, for example, I can't say to you, Watkins been better value than Wood at the moment, can I? Well, can't. And it's the same. Ola Aina's the 3rd highest scoring defender in the game, right? He should, I guess, in theory, have been in all of our teams. We all would have played him at Liverpool when he kept a clean sheet, wouldn't we? Right? No, we wouldn't have. the template will flip. Always flips. And I spoke about this a lot in the build. I'm not glad you went Solanke. I'm glad you went for a forward in that it was close to Isak, Havertz, Jackson, at least close. I'm concerned for teams who've gone like Wood, Visser, Jackson. Not Jackson, Jimenez. They're all great options, but if suddenly they're not, and you've gone with a midfield, which would be the kind of the ideal midfield of Salah, Saka, Palmer, Bumo, how are you finding the money? You ain't taking none of midfield out. You're stuck.
I guess in those teams, do you think they might have Trent in defence? Because then that
probably not.
No, do you think that's one too many?
I think to force that in, you've probably gone cheaper quite a bit elsewhere.
Well, yeah, I've got that midfield and I don't have Trent.
Right now, like let's say Tsimikas starting every week for Liverpool. Are you gonna buy Tsimikas at 4.6 or Trent at 7? Like he's worth the 2.5 saving Tsimikas under that circumstance. If he played regularly enough, we don't know that yet. You look at United and the fixtures are coming into. Is Dalot going to be worth a 2 million saving on Trent? Hey, he might be. These are the sort of things to think about. At the moment, no, there is no justification to be going big in defence, but I bet there's a period where it will be.
Yeah, like you say, the template flips and shifts, right?
As well, like I know people have gone double Arsenal defence and I'm probably a bit pissed at the moment. Yeah, it'll flip from 12.
Yeah. I know I said that was a final question, but Jimmy the Claret's in, and he says, at what point do we give up on the dream of double or triple Arsenal defence? Yes, I did say triple.
I really thought Jimmy the Claret was going to say, at what point did we give up on the dream of Scott Parker following defeat at Millwall yesterday? Sorry, give up on the dream of what?
Double or triple Arsenal defence. And that's the thing. It's like right now it's not great, is it? But from 12, if you can kind of keep it.
Yeah, this is it. It's like I made a choice when I wildcarded in Gameweek 3 to go double Arsenal defence. Or at least set up for it. So the setup was to get Gabriel for me in after you played City in Game Week 6. That was the choice that I made then, knowing that you were coming into really tough fixtures. So it was kind of like a season choice. The problem was always going to be, I think you waver a bit because you look at, say, Raya, and you know that there's better value goalkeepers.
Yeah.
That was always the case. We had this conversation in pre-season. The chances are Raya won't be the best goalkeeper in terms of like per value. There will be something better down there, no doubt. But you've also got to pick the right one.
Yeah, and that's the lottery. I didn't back myself to get correct on my wildcard, so I bowled it.
I do know that Arsenal will start putting defensive numbers up once they get this Chelsea game out of the way. But yeah, I also think it's fair to say if you don't improve on Sunday, you'll probably get beat again.
Yeah, I think so, sadly. But
and that won't rule you out of no title either, by the way. I told you. I'll be in the bookies next Monday morning.
Yeah, we'll see.
Cheers.
Nice one. Thank you, everyone. That's a wrap. And yeah, I'm trying to think how to end this now. Yeah, I always do this.
Just leave it to me. Be nice to each other, everyone. Play it your way. Cue music, please, man child.